Hi viewers, you're welcome to this episode on our series on instructional planning and design. So today we shall be dealing with operational definition of terms and time dimensions. So to start with, the operational definition of terms, we'll begin with the word instruction itself. So how do we get a working definition or an operational definition of the word instruction? There are various definitions out there, but we're going to give a definition that contains some keywords so that no matter how you define your own instruction, or no matter whose authority you are using or whose definition you are using, there are some keywords that must be contained, and we're going to underline the keywords in this definition. And mind you that we try to save through, in order to save time, save recording time here, we try to sift through various definitions and pick what we have seen to be generally agreed upon in terms of this definition. So away from the literal meaning of instruction in English language, this is a technical jargon in education. So instruction here will be defined as a planned, a planned program of activity that involves I'll put a dash here and I'll tell you why. Teacher mediating between a dash, we'll also explain why the dash is here, content and a dash learner in order to achieve a desired change in behavior. Okay, thank you. Now, instruction can be defined as a planned program of activities that involves a teacher mediating between a content and a learner in order to achieve a desired change in behavior. So the key words to note or key phrases to note must be a plan, program. Okay, yes, we must underline mediating, we must underline content, right? We must underline this, and we must underline the learner, and we must underline change. All right, so these are key to the working understanding of the word instruction. So now, why the dash? We must first understand, before the dash, before the blank spaces, we must first understand the implication of these keywords. That means an instruction is what some people might refer to as a lesson, okay? As a lesson. So it is not teaching, it is not learning, it is referring to the process of teaching and learning going on simultaneously. It must be planned. It must be a program. Program is an activity that is timed, that has the consciousness of time, or that have the factor of time captured in its planning. So it must be a planned program. Okay, now we have a teacher here. There must be a teacher. There must be someone to teach, and there must be someone to learn. There must be someone to teach, and there must be someone to learn. And the function of the teacher is to mediate. Look at the word mediating. Whatever synonym that carries the same meaning is required here. Mediate between the learner and the content. Learner and the content. That is the function of a teacher. So is to mediate between the learner and the content. Sometimes adjusting, upgrading the learner, or adjusting the learner's perception, or adjusting, working on the learner's cognition in order to be able to connect with the content, or sometimes working on the content, restating the content, or breaking down the content, or reordering the content in order to become easily understood by the learner. So that's mediation. So the teacher knows what to do, knows how to mediate, knows what to adjust and when to adjust, and what to alter between this or this. Sometimes you change certain things from the angle of the learner, or sometimes you alter certain things from the angle of the content, okay, which you are teaching. So then the aim of this, the aim of all this is in order to achieve a desired change in behavior. Change, there must be a change at the end of the instruction process. At the end, look at the program, at the end of that time of executing these planned activities, there should be a desired, specified, whichever synonym you want to use, but there must be a change in what? In behavior. So the change here has also reflected the highlighting of the change has also reflected the importance of behavior. So let's quickly talk about this word behavior. Okay, I'm going to put a circle. Okay, that's a is the meaning, the literal meaning is also connected to the scientific meaning, the psychological meaning. So behavior is simply how one responds to stimulus. Okay, for example, if I smell aroma, if I perceive the smell of an aroma, how do I respond? Do I salivate out or I salivate in? That is behavior. So we tend to salivate in, right? When we perceive good aroma, that's human behavior. We tend to salivate out when we perceive stench, when we perceive odor, we salivate out, right? Good, that is behavior. Now, if you bring it to educational context now, the context of education, a stimulus is something presented before a learner and how he responds. For example, let's take this as a visual stimulus. If you were to have this plus this is equals to question mark, for example. So what if you ask a learner to respond to this, to the figure here, the response of that learner is the behavior. Okay, so this is a visual stimulus. Okay, so the response of the learner is the behavior. So if the learner behaves like this, if the learner puts this here, so this will not be an appropriate behavior, inappropriate response to the stimulus. So at the end of the lesson, for example, that pupil should be able to behave like this, right? So this is what is meant by behavior. So if at the end of the lesson, a pupil who was hitherto behaving like this is now able to behave like this, right? Then you have achieved a desired change in behavior. So that's the meaning of the change there. So another example is an audio stimulus. For example, when you ask, where is the headquarters of Nigeria? And this is an audio stimulus, and the pupil or the student respond to say the headquarters of Nigeria is Calabar or Lagos. That is inappropriate behavior response to that stimulus. So if at the end of the instructional process, the learner is able to say, to reply when he hears where is the headquarters of Nigeria, and the learner says Abuja, then that is desired change in our behavior. Okay, now having said that, we will now look at the content. Don't forget, the content is the lesson to be taught. What you want to teach. Are you trying to teach the history of the Yorubas? Are you trying to teach the process of purification of water? Whatever you want to teach, that's the content, right? Okay, so what other word needs elucidation? Now let's come back to the issue of the blank spaces, the dash we put before these words. The reason is that we, in the academia out there, there are different varying schools of thought, and there are arguments that are still, raging on, unconcluded. So sometimes we want to draw your attention to these things because your own faculty, the faculty that you are relating with, might view things in a different way from others. So this dash here, some people, some authorities will insist that some school of thought will insist that what the word here, there must be the word here, human. So you can see we are altering the definition, not really altering, we are adding to the definition. Okay, so there must be a human here, and here there must be the word cognitive here, and here there must be the word human here. Okay, so if you look at this, you now begin to appreciate their position. For example, if you go over the definition again, instruction becomes a planned program of activities that involves a human teacher mediating between our cognitive content and a human learner in order to achieve a desired change in behavior. What's the implication of this? So this tends to rule out some applications in terms of the meaning of instruction. For example, they insist that the teacher must be human. So that means the teacher cannot be a robot. Okay, so that will not be called instruction. Cannot be a robot, and the reason is that the robot will not have human emotions, and the teacher needs to have a human emotion in order for his job to be complete. And they will have a point in terms of the fact that educational psychology has become a serious component of the requirement of a teacher professionalism. So a human teacher, they don't see a pre-recorded lecture as or a podcast as an instruction. They don't agree with that. It must be a human to human learner. You understand? So that because they argue that the teacher should be able to observe certain things in terms of the affective domain, in terms of the value orientation, and how the students receive and how the students respond and things like that. But in a recorded lecture or in a recorded class, a pre-recorded class, so the content is being given out at a different time from when it's going to be received, and there is no human to human contact and interaction, and the teacher is not being able to, sometimes when you teach in the classroom, you are able to observe a student and say, you Karim, Michael, are you okay? You looking quite dull today. But if you take the human out of it, this kind of concerns or this kind of details might not be there. So they also insist the word cognitive content. Yeah, because if it's going to be an instruction, it must be a cognitive content. So because if it's not a cognitive content, if it's a content like psychomotor that involves skills, they will use another word, not instruction. They will use a word like coaching. Okay, right? They will not use the word instruction. They will use another word like coaching. Maybe if you have to do it, how to play football, how to ride a bicycle, and stuff like that, or how to sing, they use the word coaching, not instruction. So there's this argument, and there's also the argument that the learner must be a human learner, because the study of education has been taught professionally in institutions of higher institutions of learning. Is all centered on human learners, right? All efforts on educational psychology were done based, were carried out, all researches were carried out based on using the human as a case study. Okay, so from Maslow to Bloom's to Piaget and to name them, they all have to do with the human being. So it must be a human learner for the word instruction to be said to be applicable. But all that are just some professional details. But on an operational level, we may still make do with this, leaving it more open to say that instruction is a planned program of activities that involved a teacher mediating between a content and a learner in order to achieve a desired change in behavior. So, having defined instruction, so the next thing we should be talking about is planning. Okay, instructional what? Planning. So, you permit me to erase this. All right. So, we'll be talking now about instructional planning. Okay, instructional planning. So, what is instructional planning? Again, so we can put it this way: a planned program, a what? So sorry, a surgical process, a surgical. It is that means um, careful, careful and what? Careful and critical. A careful and critical, critical. Okay, so I want this to be lucid, so I have to make it this way. Careful and critical. All right. Thought process. Okay, thought process. So this thought process of answering the following question. The following questions. Right? About one. So let's talk about first question. Who to teach? Who to teach? Right? Two. What to teach? Three. When to teach? And four. How to teach. All right. Okay, permit us to do another arrangement here. Take note of the difference. Sorry, this is one. What to teach? What to teach? And then two. Who to teach? Three. When to teach? And four. How to teach. How to teach. Good. So instructional planning is a surgical. Yeah, the word surgical is being used because of the care involved when surgery is being before and during and after surgery, the care involved and how critical the process need to be, because you need to subject everything to a proper evaluation, and you have to plan critically and you have to review. So it's very, very critical, very, very careful. It's a critical thought process of answering the following questions. So this is planning, okay? Who to teach, what to teach to that who, then when to teach it and how to teach it. This is one arrangement. On the other side, you see what to teach coming first before who to teach, then when to teach and how to teach. So this is the working definition of instructional planning. So it's still a thought process now, still a thought process, still in the thought. So there are more to planning, or there are more to the teacher's preparation, okay, than what is always written down on your statutory document. So there are more about what the teacher has done in terms of preparedness than can be written down. Okay. And it's also always, the process always starts from the thought. So you have to think critically about it, reach some conclusion before you start to write down. So the process of writing down is now the design, but the process of thought is the planning. Okay, let's um, engage you a little bit here. This arrangement versus this arrangement. Question number one, what is the implication of this arrangement? What is the implication of who coming first or what coming first? What is the implication as a teacher or as a professional or as an educationist? What do you think is the implication? And you can leave your answers in the comment box. Then we continue chatting from there. The second question is, which of this arrangement do you think we practice? For example, which of this arrangement is being practiced in your own country or in your own territory, in your own area? Then number three, for those in Nigeria, which of this arrangement do you think we practice in Nigeria? And finally, the fourth question is, which of these arrangements do you agree to or do you support? But you will not be able to answer the three questions except the last three questions, except you being able to answer the first one, which is what is the implication of this arrangement. So this is what instructional planning is. Now, from here, we quickly connect with the question of from the who to teach, what to teach, when to teach. All these questions brings out something else that is of concern, because in planning instruction now, there is a whole lot of process involved. Yes, starting from the primary stage, the secondary stage, to the tertiary stage of planning. Or you might want to look at it from when it starts from the political stage to the administrative stage of planning. Or you want to look at it from when it starts from the design, government's policy on education, to the curriculum design, to issues of scheme, to deciding issue of scheme and syllabus. You start talking about how it is being now administered in schools in terms of lesson planning and all that. So from here now we move on to the word curriculum versus syllabus, right? So because this is what naturally connects, naturally follows from here. So the word curriculum, so we can understand how education or instruction is being planned right from the roots. The word instruction is a familiar. The word curriculum is very familiar. So if you start with curriculum, say. You start with curriculum before talking about syllabus. Curriculum, let's say curriculum versus syllabus. Curriculum versus syllabus. Now, there are shades of meaning usually attached to the word curriculum. So curriculum has been seen differently, have been defined differently. So sometimes curriculum is defined as a course content, while sometimes as the entire program of learning activities, while thirdly it has been seen as the entire learning, the overall learning experience, the overall learning experience. So curriculum has been used in different, applied differently. The different it has been used to mean different things. Sometimes people use it to mean the course content. That means just the information that the learners are going to be relating with. Okay, the content proper of the course. For example, the curriculum in terms of physics, now we'll be talking about motion, wave, optics, and stuff like this. Okay, some people use this to mean just the cognitive course content. Cognitive course content. So permit me to add another word from C, cognitive course content. So they use it to refer to as the cognitive course content. So people that do this, you normally hear them refer to other kind of activities in the psychomotor domain. For example, maybe cultural dancing, maybe sporting activities. They refer to it as extracurricular activity. What they mean is that whatever does not whatever is outside the pale of classroom, teaching, is extracurricular. Okay, that's quite a very limited, application of the word curriculum. Now, why some use it to refer to the entire program of learning activities. That means the whole program, from including the cognitive content, the timetable, the sporting event, everything that is planned for the pupils or for the learners to learn while passing through that particular institution within that particular range of time is called curriculum. So not just the cognitive content that takes place in the class, including the cleaning activities, the cleaning routines, the environmental routines, and the sportings and so many other things are involved, even the club issues, and even the break, during the break, and so many other things is all designed into the curriculum. That means all these things are carefully planned in order to build to build the whole aims and objective to be able to achieve, to build in such a way that the aim and objective is being achieved through all these shades of activity. So everything collects into one overall aim, right? So this is the meaning of curriculum according to some usage. So the entire program of learning activity, all aimed at producing an overall outcome, which is the aim. So the different activities being objectives. Okay, so this one is quite a comprehensive usage of the word curriculum. Whilst curriculum, according to some authorities, includes the overall learning experience. So what it means to say the overall learning experience is that both the planned and unplanned is part of the curriculum of the school. So this is where we talk about the hidden or the invisible curriculum, because there are certain things that students or pupils or learners learn that are not, you were not intended to learn it, or it was not intended for them to learn. So they learn it socially, or so whatever the learner becomes leaving the school is the representation of the curriculum of that school. So that is why schools that use this educators that use this understanding of curriculum will pay detailed attention to everything. Yes, because as the child enters the schools, and by the time the child leaves the school, whatever the child have acquired or learned from the school, be it planned by the school management or unplanned, some things even go on in the school unknown to the school management. All these things become eventually part of the curriculum of that school, because that is the outcome. When the student leaves that school, that is the outcome. And your scholars have put a measure to it, that a certain percentage, if this becomes a reflection on certain percentage of the students that leave that school, that becomes a curriculum in that school. We'll give an example. The glasses I am putting on will not be part of the planned curriculum of a particular school. Yes, but if teachers in a particular school used to put on glasses, and the students imbibe that, and when the majority of students that leave the school now start putting on glasses, so it becomes part of the curriculum. It's the dressing. That is why where teachers dressing are washed and some other things about them are washed, so that because the students, the pupils, the learners will imbibe this. So these are the different levels of usage of the word curriculum, right? Now, but it's, I think, coming to syllabus and curriculum have been used interchangeably, and some many authorities have permitted them to be used interchangeably. The same way, at the same time, many authorities have also tried to put distinction, a clarification between them. So why one may use curriculum and syllabus interchangeably, it is worthy of note that in actual meaning, syllabus will be referring to the course content. So this would be, so using curriculum, whenever you're using curriculum to refer to course content, that means you're talking about the syllabus, right? So let's do a little bit of detailed comparison between the word curriculum and syllabus, so that our understanding and usage of these words can be consolidated. So permit me to erase this. So if we have curriculum here, and we have syllabus here, so this one will be, the distinctions will be, this one will be the entire program, the entire program, and don't forget, when we say the entire program, this one will be the cognitive content. So this is one of the ways in which they differ in terms of meaning, application. So cognitive content, so this entire program, the cognitive content. So this one includes other activities like the timing, the timetable, the other activities, maybe excursion, field trips, and so many other things that is involved in terms of administering the content, while this is just the content, the cognitive content. So that's the syllabus. Okay, another distinction between them is sometimes this could mean the entire course content. While this will now refer, in this case, this will now refer to what? A specific unit course within the general course. For example, the curriculum, for example, for let's pick an example from high institution. Pick an example from high institution. On the high institution, so the curriculum for chemistry, for example, will be to, the entire curriculum we're looking at analytical chemistry, physical chemistry, organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry. Okay, and this they will have the list. You have it 102, 202, 203, like that. You have that. This will be the curriculum. But the syllabus now will be the specific, content. For example, in the syllabus now, you'll be referring to just maybe analytical chemistry or just organic chemistry as then that particular organic chemistry, you are going to be doing it at different levels. So, for example, in the 101 of it, so what you are going to be dealing with in the 101 of it, okay, maybe separation techniques and so some other things will be referring to syllabus. So that is another distinction that we put out there. Maybe in the secondary school content, for example, if the student is to study in the senior secondary school from SS1 to 3, if a student is studying science, for example, so you'll be talking about the curriculum as English, maths, physics, chemistry, biology, maybe geography, and any other thing that will come in the combinations. That is that for the curriculum. But for the syllabus now, you'll be talking about the content of physics. Say, for example, you're talking about wave mechanics, electricity, and some other things, nuclear physics, stuff like that, for the syllabus of physics in senior secondary school. But for the curriculum, will be the subjects that are contained therein, and the general overview of what to be learned, what is to be learned therein. Then the third kind of distinction, the third distinction that normally we've experienced out there in terms of the usage is that while this is prescriptive, so you may understand it this way. This one is what? Descriptive. You can see that. This is prescriptive and descriptive. So you can see from these words that this curriculum prescribes, okay, this is to be taken. So while the syllabus describe what it is, right? So you look at it from the doctor's prescription. You have maybe you have flagyl, you may have flagyl there. You may have something like say a painkiller, say paracetamol, for example. Yeah, for example, or you might have it might give you an anti-malaria drug and a painkiller. Okay, this is a prescription, and you are being asked to take, twice daily or etc. While the description of the drugs will be drug specific. By the time you get the drugs, so you pick one particular drug, you pull out the leaflet. Okay, you cannot see so many things, indication, drug interaction, dosage, and they put other things that has to do with describing that particular drugs. So, which is different from that document you are holding now is like a syllabus, the leaflet in the drug. While the doctor's prescription is like a curriculum. So, thank you very much. This is quite important to note when it has to do with the distinction between syllabus and curriculum. So we should take note of this very, very critically. It's very important. Now, in order to assist the teacher in the actual process of narrowing down to using the documents that are related to curriculum and documents that are related to syllabus in doing the lesson plan, this background is needed. But now we have to move from this background to the details, to the some fine details of what it takes to convert this orientation or this awareness into the actual lesson plan process, or the actual process of planning the lesson. So in that case, we will now have to bring in some other related words, words that you are definitely going to come across, and these are names of documents that you are going to be using in doing your plan. And this will be we'll have to add something here. Okay, there is another word that will come here after curriculum syllabus. You'll be talking about scheme. You'll be talking about the scheme of work. Scheme of work. And then you're talking about resource material. For example, resource material. Okay, permit me. Resource material or textbooks. So you have to relate with all this in order to be able to write a lesson plan in a formal setting. So we'll wipe over this so we can actually narrow in on these words in order to help us to relate with the documents which they refer to in the process of our lesson planning. So we start with okay, let's start with the curriculum. Okay, we start with the curriculum. Here we have the scheme, the scheme of work. Here, and we have the let's call it resource materials, the resource material, or textbook, or depends on different usage. These words are used differently in different places. So some people refer to this as the syllabus or syllabus. Okay, so we have this here. Now let's start with, in terms of the source of this document, the curriculum. Now we know what curriculum is. We know what the syllabus is. So, which is now being used synonymously for textbooks or for resource materials. So, the one thing we have not, spoken about before in this episode is the scheme, right? Good. Good. Now, we'll start by talking about the source of each source. Okay? Yeah, in terms of source, that is number one. We talk about source, and source. Good. So, before then, let's quickly show you. We'll go now to proceed now to show you physically what we are referring to, or I'll be referring to. So, the curriculum is what you can see here, right? If you are in Nigeria, for example, and I believe in whatever country you are, you have an equivalent of something like this that comes from the government, because there is nowhere in the world where the government does not is not the one that is responsible for deciding the content of what is to be taught, or answering those questions, of providing answers to the question of the what, the who, and the when, and stuff like that. So this curriculum, okay, so you're going to have this document. For example, it's an example of a scheme of work, okay, scheme of work. So we'll be here, right? So you can see that. Now, I wish I have a third arm now. All right, now you have, for example, a resource material, okay, the textbook, or so to say a syllabus, so to say, all that contains a syllabus, so something like that. So this is what it contains, how the the inner part looks like, okay, and this one, the inner part looks like this, okay. So you can see that, and of course we must be familiar with what a textbook contains or looks like. Okay, thank you. Now, starting with the source of the curriculum is the NERDC, which is the national, that is in the case of Nigeria, please, the National Educational Research and Development Council. Okay, so you can see it there, the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, the Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council, I beg your pardon. Now, this is one of the councils, or you can say agencies, under the Ministry of Education that are responsible for curriculum design. So they are the source of this document. So it's a federal council. In other words, it is being done at the federal level, and from there it is being used in the 36 states of the federation, including the FCT. Now, having said that concerning the source of the curriculum, the source of the scheme, this one comes from various administrators, various educational administrators. For example, this one is from the Educational Resource Center, Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, right? So while some states, Ministry of Education may help in breaking down the curriculum into scheme. So we'll still talk about what scheme is actually in details. Now, the textbook, the source of the textbook from publishers. This one, the resource material from publishers. These are publishers who look at, study this, and maybe this, then write a textbook. Most of these authors experienced educationists, former teachers, or even present teachers, stuff like that. So they write the textbook, try to research the content, the relevant content as it goes with the scheme and the curriculum. So you have the authors, you have publishers. The source of this is publishers. But it's been reviewed. These textbooks are being reviewed by the government, the state ministries of education, publishers, and reviewed by the state ministries. So they are being reviewed by the state ministries of education. So you must ensure that the textbook you are using, or you are recommended as a teacher to your school management, or as a school management, the textbook you are providing for your teachers, you should ensure that it's on the approved list of what the relevant authorities, like your state ministry of education or the council responsible for that, must have reviewed and approved, because they need to review them so that they will be in line with the curriculum, so that you will not be the teachers will not be teaching and the students will be learning out of permit us to say out of point, because a content might look interesting and might also look fascinating, but it might be outside what have been approved to be taught, and your pupils or students will be at a disadvantage later on in life, or when they meet in national or joint state examinations, because they know things that are not required, and the things that are required of them they don't know. So this is one reason why you see some schools do not perform very well in joint examination, even though they are doing well. They are teaching well and the students are very, very intelligent, but in terms of joint examination, you might see that they're not performing well. That's one of the reasons, is because of the textbooks that they use. So in terms of source, that is the source of the curriculum, the scheme, and the textbooks. Now let's look at the content. What do they contain in terms of content? So they will look at content. The curriculum contains the following. It contains the following. One, the topic / the skill to be learned. Okay. Then the next thing is the objective. That is the behavioral objective. Behavioral objective. Permit me to abbreviate this. After that, after the behavioral objective, it contains the content, the actual content. Take note now that you're going to get this content from this place. Okay? Good. Then it contains the activities, right? After the content, there you have activity. Then after the activities, you have the instructional resource, or you might say instructional materials and aid. Instructional aids. Let's use that word for now. Later on, we will come to demystify the difference between instructional material, instructional aids, and learning materials. Okay. Then it contains evaluation guide. Evaluation guide. It contains evaluation guide. Okay. So that means the topic to be taught, for example, will be there. The behavioral objective is there. Then you have the content. Okay, the content proper of that topic to be taught. The activity of the teacher, that is the teaching activity and the learning activity. What the pupils are supposed to, the learners are supposed to be doing, and instructional aids that maybe like the textbooks to be used, and the relevant kind of materials that are brought into the class to facilitate learning, and then the evaluation guide. That is maybe in what some people may understand the prep set or things like that. So this is the content of the curriculum, and it is being designed in line with when we get to the issue of time frame, we'll look at era design. For example, this one will be the basic. For the basic, that means the first 9 years, whereby the government decide that your first step into schooling will be 9 years. That means covering from 6 years of primary to the 3 years of the GSS class, and that means one should not stop at primary henceforth. So basic education now extend to GSS 3. That is the implication. So that is so. But this is also in 3 parts. You have the 1 to 3, 4 to 6, and you now have the junior secondary 1 to 3. So here you will see 4 to 6, for example. Everything that you need to do in vocational studies. That means what you used to call home economics those days, and agricultural science. These are called pre-vocational. That is, they are preparing you for vocational studies, preparing you for skills. Now, preparing you for craft and some other things. Now, 4 to 6 means everything contained here is what the pupils, the learners are expected to learn for that 3 years. So it is a kind of unseparated. So the highest separation you get here is 3 years. So 3 years work put together here. Okay, so this is the content of this curriculum. Now the content of the scheme, in terms of content, the scheme contains, there is number 2 here, in terms of content. Okay, the scheme contains the following. It has the week, okay, the week in view, and the topic to be taught, the content, and then the activity. This is what this contains. Okay, this in terms of content, this is what it contains. So you see, the scheme of work contained is now what the scheme have done. What they have done, taking the curriculum. Okay, in the past, the teacher is responsible for breaking down the curriculum into scheme. Okay, that was in the past, but as we have it in the present day, everything seems to be chewed and masticated for us. So you now see authorities now have to, of course, perhaps seeing the dwindling or the falling standard of teachers in terms of capability, and also the influx of non-professionals into the teaching sector. So the authorities are now forced to break down this curriculum into scheme for the teachers, such that this work is now this work that is being summed up together, like 3 years work summed up together here, will now be broken into segments, so that it can be further broken into units. So they first of all take the whole work, do what we call they will sort it, and they will sequence it, and after sequencing they will link and pair, and then they will now chunk. Are you with me? They will chunk into what it's going to take for a year, then what is going to take for a term, and what is going to take for a week. So you have these 3 years work broken into 3 in the first place. So they will learn in primary 4, then what they will learn in primary 5, and then what they will learn in primary 6. That of primary 4 will now be further broken down into 30 parts. The 30 weeks you have to teach in a year. So if you take out the revision weeks and the examination weeks and all sort of things, you now have 30 weeks, okay, from 11 to 10 to 9 to teach in a session. So then you have 30, so you now break it down into 30 places. Now pick one at a time. Sometimes a topic might reflect, might cover or might extend to 2 weeks. So I'm only trying to explain the implication of this week work here, so that you know what to teach in a week. Okay, you know what to teach in a week. So we'll come back to this. Now, having said this, the topics is now indicated, the content is there, and the activity is there in the scheme of work. So by and large, this is what we experience in terms of the content of the scheme of work. Now, what does What is the content of the resource material, the textbook? So you normally have this, the content, cognitive content, cognitive details, cognitive details and information, on the content. Let me write this on the content. The cognitive details and information on the content. So take note now. So this content here is referring to what? This content you see here. So the textbook contains details of the content here. So the same thing with the content here. So it's from the textbook that the teacher, researches and also sees what is there to be taught to the learners. So he extends his tentacles, beyond the reach of one textbook, so that he can do a kind of reorganization of the content and presenting it to the students in the manner that is best suited for them to be able to achieve the behavioral objective. So this is in terms of the content of what they contain. That is differentiating between them in terms of the source, in terms of the content of what they contain. Now, the next thing will be in terms of the pros and cons. So we'll be comparing or differentiating between the curriculum, the scheme, and the textbooks or the resource materials in terms of the pros and the cons of each, and what we have come to experience today by and large in terms of the usage of this document. So we will stop here today in this episode, and in our next episode we'll continue from the pros and cons of the curriculum, the scheme, and the textbook. So thank you very much for your time, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So until our next episode, stay blessed. Thank you.